What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench Podcast Network and channel, giving a shout out to the rest of the crew. Shy, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog, Talk Sports. That's right, that's right. Everyone who's tuning in, thank you for supporting Behind the Bench. Subscribe to the channel. Help make this show the best that it can be. And I'm telling you, right off the bat, NBA need to move forward, y'all. The NBA needs to move forward. Because what we're witnessing is an era, a generation of superstars that represent the league during the 2010s, particularly during their prime years. They want to shape the narrative. They want to redefine the past, but they're also stunting the overall dynamic of the league, and they're holding the league hostage. And the talking heads who was planted throughout, they perpetrate what's being said by a lot of these players, man. And particularly, all this. Okay, let's look at what's happening to Kobe Bryant. All these former players, man, these talking heads, been attacking Kobe with impunity. No holds barred, and it's coming from all angles. They're attacking this man in terms of why he won, what led him to win, what he perceived, what their perception is to what he didn't do. Did he quit in a game, in a playoff game in 2006? And what's crazy is these conversations they having about a basketball player career, particularly Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant mainly played during the 2000s, right? This is 2025. We're 20 years plus removed from the representation of the Lakers featuring Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal during the heart of their run when they won 3 straight championships together, right? This is 20 years after the fact. 2 decades. And they're revisiting, talking more about that period than the fans who actually grew up during that time. But then when they get called out and critiqued for it, those talking heads, you know what they're going to say about fans like us? Oh, we stuck in the past. They're going to call us old heads. See, and they don't even realize what they're doing, man. They don't even realize what they're doing. And if they did, they wouldn't care. But those voices, they hold no credibility, and they're not going to last. They have the platform right now. These cats coming up on these podcasts, kicking this nonsense, spewing this. It's like diabolical. And it's coming from everywhere, man. You got one guy saying, well, man, if I had Shaq, man, you don't think I couldn't win a championship? When he made that statement, he threw his teammates under the bus, particularly in Houston. When he had Yao Ming, when he had Shane Battier. You see what I'm saying? Bobby Sewell. Bobby Sewell was a heck of a player. He was one of the better young two guards in the league when he entered the league. And I think Bobby Sewell come out of Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. If anybody come across this video and if I got that wrong, let me know. But at the end of the day, when it gets to the point where these veteran superstars to in their minds remain relevant at the forefront, they have to attack players who long been retired. It's time for them to retire. And a lot of reason that they're doing this is because they're not winning. If they were winning, they wouldn't have to resort to this. And what's sad about it is, when it comes to one Kevin Durant, I was always a fan of KD. During his college year at University of Texas, the Longhorns, where he played 1 year down there, I saw Kevin Durant. I probably watched at least, I'm going to say, during his freshman year in college, I probably watched him play at least no less than 15 times. He should have been #1 pick of his draft. He should have been drafted #1 by Portland, and instead they drafted Greg Oden. But what he said about Michael Jordan, man, I'm telling you, these cats are fiending. They fiending. And I realized KD was pushed to say that. He was pushed to say that by you know who. Certain individual who launched his podcast 2 years ago, Kicking Nonsense. It was sad about it. See, when you know how a person is and that he lacks character, and when they say his podcast is going to be about breaking down the nuances of the game, that wasn't the purpose. When has this dude talked about, when has he really talked about the X's and O's? Because really, in all honesty, losing in the first round 2 years straight, he shouldn't even be focused on doing the podcast. See, that's the difference between, this is the difference, Michael Jordan returned back to the league in 1995. 17 games left to go in the regular season. And he fell short in the playoffs, right? Mainly because he was not in full basketball shape. It's not an excuse, it's just a reality. Even Scottie Pippen, his career-long teammate, said at that point of Jordan's career coming back the way he did, he wasn't ready for game situation. You have to build yourself up for that. It's pro basketball. And not even Michael Jordan could overcome that lack of instinct, constantly playing throughout the course of the season. But he corrected that. And the next year he came back in full fury, man. And he racked off, began another three-peat. So, but what I'm saying is, man, these dudes have a major platform. And they know that Michael Jordan is on the attack. What they've done with Kobe is abysmal. And, remember what happened, 5 years ago when we first lost Kobe, and all these talking heads was, showing their version or trying to convince people that they was, love Kobe and whatnot. Man, it turned out not to be genuine. It's back to the same old status quo. You see, and what's crazy about it, Kobe Bryant had a chance to win 6 championships, right? And they blocked the trade to keep him from winning anymore. You see what I'm saying? This is what you call manipulating the landscape when moves like that are made. So when KD makes this statement, and then you got the initiator of this, crapping on Jordan, criticizing the triangle offense. And then he went so far as to say he didn't believe Will Chamberlain scored 100 points in a game. Well, who is he to think? Why does he have to be the end-all be-all? Just because he don't think it happened. Because the reason he don't think it happened, because he trying to tear on the past, because he wanted to make it seem like he invented basketball. This is why the league needs to move forward. But like I said, they're losing now to the young superstars, and they're losing like in the first round. And they know their time pretty much up. But see, the talking heads want these guys in favorable position because they want to manipulate the scene to convince people that this era stands that far above the rest and that this is the greatest era ever. That's not how the NBA operated. That's not how the NFL operated. That's not how Major League Baseball operated. That's not how the NHL operated. But the reason why they want this era to stand as the top dog is because they're trying to push that one guy to the top. And to get other people to attack the Kobe's and the MJs. And they're not providing full context. So I'll provide some context real quick. Since they want to bring up Michael Jordan. Like I say, what's crazy about it is the fans who grew up watching the NBA during the 90s, during the heart of Michael Jordan's run, or dominance as an NBA player when you start winning championships, and then when you bring up the championships, they don't want to hear nothing. They don't want to hear about that. They're gonna say, well, what about the other 7 years? Well, I can sit there and say, well, what about the other 20 years of the other guy? Or the other 18 years? Jordan's run in the NBA is unprecedented when you consider what a player had to do starting from the bottom to reach to the top. Michael Jordan had the highest degree of difficulty to accomplish that feat. He entered the league in 1984, where the Boston Celtics were entering their prime with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge. Bird was at the peak of his game, and for 3 years was unequivocally considered the best player in basketball. Right? Okay. Then, of course, the Showtime Lakers, which they'll bring up the Lakers to tear down Jordan. But what's crazy is the Lakers and the Chicago Bulls played in different conferences. See, they just throw stuff out there, man. They make it seem like when they throw Showtime in the mix to try to tear down Jordan, as if the Lakers and the Bulls played in the same conference throughout the course of the season. They just throw stuff out there. But what's funny is, during the head-to-head matchup during the regular season, even before the Bulls start winning the championships, Chicago pretty much had a 500 record versus Showtime. They won't tell you that, though. There's so much that they don't tell nobody. The Detroit Pistons. I mean, for the most part, it was tit for tat during the regular season. And especially prior to Detroit changing their philosophy from offense to defense. They don't break stuff down in nuance. But like I said, when considering what a player had to do, what a player has to do starting their career off. Normally, if you drafted, as a lottery pick or a number one pick, or close to being a number one pick, you're going to be drafted by a bad team more often than not, right? So you got to work your way up from the bottom to the top. And the record shows Jordan had the highest degree of difficulty. So when people say, oh man, he couldn't beat the Pistons, he couldn't beat the Boston Celtics, well, Boston was a championship level team. They had won the title right before Jordan entered the league. They was in their prime. The Detroit Pistons started their ascension in the mid-'80s. With Isaiah Thomas being the leader, entering the league in 1981. He entered the league 3 years before Michael Jordan did. And he played in the same division. And what I mean by highest degree of difficulty, Jordan had to break through the Central Division before he eventually started winning the championships, because the Central Division was the toughest division and the most competitive division in the NBA. Pistons, Cavaliers, Bulls, Milwaukee Bucks, Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers. Think about this, people. In the playoffs, for a league that had 24 teams at that time, 5 of the teams that were going to the playoffs was coming out of that division. I'm telling you, man, these people don't think, man. And on a rare occasion, 6. 6. This when you had 2 divisions in each conference. 6 teams in each division. But when KD made that sly comment about Jordan not being dedicated to the game. It's time for these dudes to go, man. All these dudes, man. All these cats, these former players. You got a guy, made a comment on this podcast talking about Kobe. He wasn't really the defender that his reputation suggests, because when he played Kobe, he got the better of Kobe. But the dude who said that was like a career 11-point per game score. I mean, come on, man. What we doing, man? It's utter nonsense. And a lot of these dudes, they spewing this stuff out because, for the most part, it's not even about the championships. They didn't uphold the standard, man. And that's really what a lot of this is about. Like Charles Barkley said, Charles Barkley gave it his all. He gave it his all, man. Charles Barkley was a hell of a player. But he understood. He said, look, I didn't win a championship in my career. Now, am I unfulfilled as a player? No, but I would love to win a championship. So he understands his place in history in terms of the standard. You see what I'm saying? These dudes want to reinvent the wheel because they didn't uphold the standard. And when you get right down to it, when we say the standard, is really based on competing at the highest level. And a lot of these guys, these top guys, started by who. They shortcut the game. And they shortcut them. In all actuality, they cheated themselves. Fans got robbed during this past decade. We didn't really get a chance to see who's who, because guys started, superstars, franchise level players started teaming up. And it started during the summer of 2010. And they know that they juked the game. The talking heads who support this nonsense deep down know they juked the game. But in order to uphold the path that these players took, they have to trash the past. They have to trash the guys who set the standard, who didn't sell us short. That's why they doing it. So when you attack on Michael Jordan, see, I can look at it like this. And this is really how it should be looked by all basketball fans, because this is how the history played out. Not because I'm saying it, it's because how the history played out. Michael Jordan, in 9 years, essentially won 3 championships. He defeated all challengers when they was in their prime. He was beating teams that was destined to win, or that was picked to win it all, and he was beating them in the first round. He was winning championships with his number 2 player coming out of an NAIA school, right? That's what you call the highest degree of difficulty. He did it against a team. He had to overcome a team arguably is the greatest defensive team in league history. That's what you call highest degree of difficulty. So when you go through the fire the way he did, and he went through it, by 1993, he said, I have no more challenges. And if I try to continue playing with no more challenges, he said he's going to do a disservice to the game. And therefore, he retired. So by the age of 30, he conquered the sport of basketball while he played, because there was no more challenges. But he also said, in a couple of years, if there's a new set of challenges that may present itself, I may come back. And that's what happened. And then he racked off another 3-peat. See, he kept adding to the legend. Them last 3 years with the Bulls was like a bonus. That was like bonus coverage. And he some kind of way kept adding to the legend. So in all actuality, he accomplished more in a shorter period of time with less offensive laden talent around him. in a higher degree of difficulty, he accomplished more. You see what I'm saying? To where he checked out. What I mean checked out, I don't mean quit. I mean he dominated in such a way that you can say a player who only competed in the league for 9 years before retiring the first time was viewed as the greatest player ever. This before he returned back. But when he returned back, he wasn't being gassed up by the talking heads. They was like, man, can he come back at the age of 32 and did what he did before? And then when he lost to Orlando in '95, they thought he was done. They were saying Penny Hardaway was the heir apparent. So the challenge was there right from the get-go. Return back to form. And the next year he did, man. They swept Orlando, and when you go back at it, that was a brutal sweep, man. I mean, Orlando was psychologically defeated after game 2. They didn't want no more of that. So what I'm saying is, man, when we got a situation where this is 2025, and you continually talking about a player who retired from basketball the first time in 1993, that's 32 years ago. What are they on a podcast criticizing a man whose basketball career during the year of his reign was 30 years ago? Are we serious? That'd be the equivalent of people bashing the 60s during the 90s. Or the 70s during the 2000s. When Kobe and Shaq was winning, we weren't sitting there trashing Willis Reed and Clyde Frazier and Jerry West and Will Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar during the 70s. Rick Barry, we weren't trashing them players. We was like, damn, man, shit, that nigga Wilt, man. Man, that's Jerry West right there. Because the history is being upheld. And the only reason the history is being torn down right now is because of one guy. Existence in the league because of the direction that he took his career. And now he's losing a lot of his contemporaries that played during the same era. They losing. So to compensate for the losing, they want to tear down everybody else, man. It's nonsense, dog. It's nonsense. And what's crazy about it, unfortunately, there's more talk about what these cats are saying, this poison they spewing, than to celebrate a team that built itself over 5 years, started from scratch, did it by the book, and became a champion this year in Oklahoma City. But as they did with Milwaukee, as they did with Denver, as they did with Dallas in 2011, San Antonio in 2014, and the Celtics to a degree last year, they talk about the real teams that won championships in maybe 2 days. And it's right back to the Hurricane. But the talking heads keep giving this dude credence. And that's why he feels he has liberty to act and behave in the manner that he does. If he was called out the way he needed to be called out, these cats would be saying what they be saying. And I actually feel bad for his fans. Because where they're about to be led to in terms of just as a, you're a fan, you're a support system for your favorite player. And you got to sit here and defend everything that he do, even when his actions, man, are really, in a basketball sense, is deplorable. They're going to say that the front office for the Lakers have not done anything for this dude when they've literally bankrupted the entire franchise to try to help this dude win, and he losing. Because that's what he is in essence. A superstar who has a propensity to lose. which is why he had to start stacking the deck and forming super teams. This era has been awful in terms of the coverage of the league, of the dynamic. As I've said time and time again, young talent being devalued and casted out, draft picks being leveraged out to facilitate trades to bring in stars, superstars, stacking the deck. And to justify that, they're going to say, well, you had super teams back in the day. No, they weren't super teams. They were all-time championship teams. It's a difference. It's a difference. But I just want to drop this real quick. Kevin Durant, what he said was foul. And what's crazy is Jordan don't say nothing to nobody, man. You don't see Jordan with since his years of retirement, which has been 20 years, you don't see that man coming on TV talking about this and talking about that. He had his career, man. His career speaks for itself. And once this nonsense ends and cease, his career is going to stand. No matter what they try to do. It's going to stand, man. I'm telling you. And once these fans, there has to be exposed to this nonsense and has been led to embrace it as truth. Once they find out how much they've been fooled and misled, and in a lot of cases brainwashed, man, we're going to see a backlash like we've never seen before. That's what's going to happen. The truth will always stand, man. The history will always speak for itself. The account of what happened will always resonate in some form or fashion. But that was foul, what KD said. That Jordan wasn't dedicated to the game just because a guy played 20 years. Well, the reason why the guy is trying to establish longevity as his case is because he didn't uphold the standard and he's been losing more than he's been set up to win. That's why he got to go the longevity route. Otherwise, he probably would have retired around 2019. Jordan sitting there got more accomplishments. Jordan dominated to such a degree where he retired and spotted the league 2 championships and then came back and won 3 more. That's how far ahead he was above the game. Not just above the opponent, but above the game of basketball. He is the standard. And then the Kobe Bryants of the world exemplified what the standard meant and carved out an amazing career in his own right. And they had a blocker trade to keep Kobe Bryant from winning any more championships. I mean, it's total nonsense what's going on. It's like the Matrix, man. And the NBA don't know how to, it's so convoluted right now. They don't know how to move forward. And a lot of these people that got the platform, they don't want the league to move forward, man. They can care less about that. But once it finally do, you will not see them around anymore. They're going to ride off into the sunset because ain't nobody going to want to hear them. Ain't nobody going to want to hear them. So I just want to drop that real quick. It's a sad state of affairs in the NBA, and it don't have to be. It's a lot of promise that's going on. It's a lot of positive attributes that the league should be gravitating to. But the agenda is what's holding all this back, people. It's what's holding all this back because this man wanted to be seen as the GOAT and get other people to tear Jordan down. It's unfortunate Tracy McGrady had to come out there and say and be put up to say what he say. Because when you go back in his career, it don't measure up. It is what it is. Nobody said Tracy McGrady couldn't ball. He could ball, but he won on Kobe level when it come to winning. That's what this is about. And so he comes out with this fake ring culture premise and nonsense and conversation, and it's not about ring culture. It's about loser mentality. And that's why I wanted no part of him on my team. They sitting there right now. They got Luka Doncic on the team. Top 3 player, right? They say top 3 player. But yet, the talking heads say the Lakers don't have enough. They not a contender. Why are they not a contender for? It ain't because of Luka. Not is the reason why they not a contender. It's the guy that's always clamoring for more help. Is the root of the problem, people. This is why you can't try to push no one to the top whose approach to the game or his overall game is not worthy of him being recognized as such. Jordan was not pushed to the top. He earned that. So I just want to drop that nugget. Please leave your comments and thoughts. KD, what he said was foul. And the league needs to move forward in the worst way. They holding the league back, people. But until next time, JB, BTB, and this is your show Behind the Bench.